Hare Third, introduction prayer, page 1. Amagana Parmavashya Yamajana Salakaya Chachumita Minatane Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Sapita Nina Utale Swayam Rupam Kada Ayam Dadati Swapa I was born in the darkest ignorance, and my spiritual master opened my eyes, forged the knowledge. How can I respectful obeisances unto them? When will Srila Rupa Goswami Prabhupada has established in this pure world the mission to fulfill the desire of Lord Chaitanya, give me shelter under his lotus feet. Vandeham Shri Shri Sapada Pamalam Shri Vaishnavascha Shri Rupam Sakarjatam Sahakana Radhana Bhaktitam Tasajeham Sadhitam Sadhitam Pariyajana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Pada Sahakana Lalita Shri Vishnu Vikramcha I offer my respectful obeisances unto the lowest feet of my spiritual master, and unto the feet of all Vaishnavas. I offer my respectful obeisances unto the lowest feet of Sri Rupa Goswami, along with his elder brothers, Sanatana Swami, as well as Raghunath Das and Raghunath Bhatta, Gopala Bhatta, and Srila Jiva Goswami. I offer my respectful obeisances to Lord Krishna Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda, along with Advaita Acharya, Gadadhar, Srivastava, and other associates. I offer my respectful obeisances to Srimati Radharani and Sri Krishna, along with their associates, Sri Lalita and Vishaka. Hey Krishna Karna Sindhu Dino Bandhu Jagapate Gopisha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namasute. Oh my dear Krishna, you are the friend of the distress and the source of creation. You are the master of the gopis and the lover of Radharani. Offer my respectful obeisances unto you. Kapakam Shanagarangi Rade Vindvastastare Vispana Sute Deve Karamame Hare Kriye. I offer my respects to Radharani, whose violet complexion is like molten gold, and who is the queen of Vrindavan. You are the daughter of King Vishvavan, and you are very dear to Lord Krishna. Panchakapaturparyascha Pita Sindhu Payadekascha Patitanam Padananipayo Vaishnavepayo Namo Namaha. I offer respectful obeisances unto all the Vaishnavas, devotees of the Lord, who can fulfill the desires of everyone, just like desire trees, and who are full of compassion for the fallen souls. Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda, Sri Advaita Gadadhar Srivastava Bhaktivinoda. I offer my obeisances to Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda, Sri Advaita Gadadhar Srivastava, and all others in the line of devotion. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So we're on, are we on chapter 17?
I think we're still there, yeah.
Chapter 17, I have it marked at text 4 here. Is that right?
I think so. Yeah.
Okay. Divisions of Faith, chapter 17, starting at text 4. Yajante sapika devan, yaksha rakshanti rajasa, pritam buddhakanam shamye, yajante tamasha jana. Translation: men in the mode of goodness worship the demigods, those in the mode of passion worship the demons, and those in the mode of ignorance worship ghosts and spirits. Text 5 and 6. Ashastra hitam garam tapyante te tapva jnanam dhamma dhamma kara samyukta kamaraja alapita karasantya shariya satam uttaramam ajitasya Mamshaivanta Shariya Sittam Kamvedis Ashura Nishchayam. Those who undergo severe austerities and penances not recommended in the scriptures, performing out of pride, egotism, lust, and attachment, who are impelled by passion and torture their bodily organs, as well as their super soul dwelling within, are to be known as demons. Text 7. Arashaswati Savasya Shri Vido Bhavati Prayaya Yahyastapastapadhanam Esha Vedam Imam Shunu. Translation: even food of which all partake is of three kinds, according to the three modes of material nature. The same is true of sacrifices, austerities, and charity. Listen, I shall tell you the distinctions of these. Text 8 through 10. Ayusattvaragoyitaya Shuka Prikiti Viratanaha Rashya Snigdaka Sitira Hitya Aharya Satnika Priyaya Katta Amla Bhavante Krishna Krishna Riksha Vihavina Aharya Raja Sakita Dukha Sokamaya Padaha Yatta Yama Yatta Rasa Uti Pariyushitam Chatya Utishtam Api Chanedayam Ojanam Tamasha Priyayam. Translation: foods in the mode of goodness increase the duration of life, purity of one's existence, and give strength, health, happiness, and satisfaction. Such as nourishing foods are sweet, juicy, fattening, and palatable. Foods that are too bitter, too sour, too salty, pungent, dry, and hot are liked by the people in the modes of passion. Such foods cause pain, distress, and disease. Foods cooked more than 3 hours before being eaten, which is tasteless, stale, and putrid, decomposed, and unclean, is food liked by people in the mode of ignorance. Text 11. Apalakam shibhiryagyo vidhi drishtoya idyate yastavyam idati mana samaraya sasapikam. Translation of sacrifices that sacrifice performed according to duty and to scriptural rules and with no expectation of reward is in the nature of goodness. Text 12. Avishadaya Kupalam Davayatam Apishadaya Idyate Bharata Kriyasta Tam Yagyam Vidhi Rajasam. Translation: the death sacrifice performed for some material end or benefit or performed ostentatiously out of pride is out of nature or passion, O chief of Bharatas. Text 13. Vihinam avishtamanam mantrahinam adashinam virahitam yagyam tamasam parichakshate. Translation: and that sacrifice performed in defiance of scriptural injunction, in which no spiritual food is distributed, no hymns are chanted, and no renunciations are made to the priest, in which is faithless, that sacrifice is the most ignorance. Text 14. Deva Dvija Guru Pragya Pujana Charucha Ajavam Brahmacharyam Ahimsa Cha Sharivam Tapam Chayate. Translation: the austerity of the body consists in this: worship the Supreme Lord, Brahmanas, the spiritual master, and superiors like the father and mother. Cleanliness, simplicity, celibacy, non-violence are also austerities of the body. Final text this evening, text 15. Anudvaiga karma yakyam sakyam priya hitam chayat swayadaya payatyasanam jaivam vanmayam tapa uchayate. Austerity of speech consists in speaking truthfully and beneficially, and avoiding speech that offends. One should also recite the Vedas regularly.
Returning back to text for divisions of faith. Translation, purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Men in the mode of goodness worship the demigods, those in the mode of passion worship demons, and those in the mode of ignorance worship ghosts and spirits. In this verse, the Supreme Personality of Godhead describes different kinds of worshipers according to their spiritual activities. According to scriptural injunctions, only the Supreme Personality of Godhead is worshipable, but those who are not very conversant with or faithful to the scriptural injunctions worship different objects. According to their specific situation and the modes of material nature, those who are situated in goodness generally worship the demigods. The demigods include Brahma, Shiva, and others such as Indra, Chandra, and Sun God. There are various demigods. Those in goodness worship a particular demigod for a particular purpose. Similarly, those who are in the mode of passion worship the demons. Recall that during the Second World War, a man in Calcutta worshipped Hitler because thanks to that war, he had amassed a large amount of wealth by dealing in the black market. Similarly, those in the modes of passion and ignorance generally select a powerful man to be God. They think that anyone can be worshipped as God, and that same result will be obtained. Now, it is clearly described here that those who are in the mode of passion worship and create such gods, and those who are in the mode of ignorance and darkness worship dead spirits. Sometimes people worship at the tomb of some dead man. Sexual service is also considered to be in the mode of darkness. Similarly, in remote villages in India, there are worshippers of ghosts. We have seen that in India that lower class people sometimes go to the forest. If they have knowledge that a ghost lives in a tree, they worship that tree and offer sacrifices. These different kinds of worship are not actually God worship. God worship is for persons who are transcendently situated in pure goodness. The Srimad Bhagavatam has said, Sattvam Vishuddham Vasudeva Sabditam. When a man is situated in pure goodness, he worships Vasudeva. The purport is that those who are completely purified in the material modes of nature and who are transcendently situated can worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Impersonalists are supposed to be situated in the mode of goodness, and they worship 5 kinds of demigods. They worship the impersonal Vishnu, or Vishnu from form in the material world, which is known as philosophized Vishnu. Vishnu is the expansion of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but the impersonalists, because they do not ultimately believe in the Supreme Personality of Godhead, imagine that Vishnu's form is just another aspect of the impersonal Brahman. Similarly, they imagine that Lord Brahma is in personal form in the material mode of passion. Thus, they sometimes describe 5 kinds of gods that are worshipable, but because they think that they are actually truth as impersonal Brahman. They dispose of all worshipable objects at the ultimate end. In conclusion, the different qualities and material modes of nature can be purified through association with persons who are transcendental nature. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare. Men in the mode of goodness worship the demigods. Those in the mode of passion worship the demons. And those in the mode of ignorance worship the ghosts and spirits. Hare Krishna. I think I've kind of studied into all these kinds of worships, studying. A side hobby of mine throughout my life has been, studying religious beliefs, seeing the different aspects that people, how people perceive God. That always has fascinated me. And, in India, as I was stating here, the demigods, those in the mode of goodness worship the demigods. So you go to India, you have a lot of families that have, even, family lines that, they have worshipped the same demigod for the same, for generations, and in India, it's not so much, I am right and you're wrong. It's okay. This is what you believe. This is what they believe. It's more passive than here in the U.S. Especially with the dominant Christianity, most of the time we get I'm right and you're wrong. Kind of situations. But those that worship the demons in the mode of passion, we find that, it's scary. You could go down to your local bookstore and find a lot of books, in the New Age section and learn about, worship of these kinds of things. You get into Wicca and black magic and whatnot. They sell this stuff at the local bookstores. People get themselves really spiritually screwed up, trying to practice these things without proper knowledge. The Ouija board, that's sold at toy stores. Believe it or not. It's been sold as a game, as a toy. I remember when Toys R Us was still open. They had it at Toys R Us, the Ouija board. But if you go to Walmart, you could probably still find it in the toy section for games for kids. That's in the mode of ignorance. Those who worship ghosts and spirits. And you can find also that in the New Age sections of these bookstores. So there's a lot of dangerous knowledge out there that you have these authors that are pushing out to the public. The spells and incantations and black magic and whatnot. And it's all dangerous for spiritual growth. Because there's a lot of heavy karma involved. You can't take from one part of the universe and energy from one part of the universe and put it forth on another part of the universe without karmic reaction. And that's pretty much what they're dabbling into. They're dabbling into things that they don't know. They don't really know that all these things are going to come back on them karmically. And especially in this day and age, you have so many people with these ghost hunting experiences. I remember getting into ghost hunting, back in my earlier years. It fascinated me, going into these haunted places. What's going on here? Is there a spirit left behind? It's Colorado. I tell you what, most of the haunted places I've ever experienced were in Colorado for some reason. Up in the mountains of Cripple Creek and down in Colorado Springs. Those were the main areas that I had. There's definitely another world, a spiritual world out there, of lost spirits. And ultimately, these things you should not meddle with. You have them in your, presences in your home, and you should definitely chant Hare Krishna because it's purifying. Because the ghost body, that's just another cell. That's another prison cell that they're trapped in. And they're trapped in that body because they died in the mode of ignorance. Very dangerous to die in the mode of ignorance because all of a sudden you're given a body, you have all these desires, but you have no way to fulfill these desires in the mode of ignorance, in a ghostly body. So you're continually trying to fulfill these desires, and there's just no way you can do it. You can't eat, you can't smell, you can't do anything with this ghostly body. And those who are attracted to these ghostly phenomenons and, ghostly experiences, they're in danger of falling in that mode of ignorance and becoming ghosts themselves. So it's just more important just to chant Hare Krishna. You're having, activity in the home. There's one place I worked at. It was a bar and grill. It was a very old building, dated back to the early 1800s in Colorado Springs, but it was the underground bar and grill. And before it was a bar and grill, the building back in the early 1800s, there was a plague that went through Colorado Springs, and they basically it hit in the winter, and so many people died in the winter, and the ground was frozen. They couldn't dig to bury people because the ground was frozen. So they stored the bodies down in the basement of this building. There was a mortuary down in this basement of this building. So they stored hundreds of bodies there. But the job I had taken, I didn't know any of this. But that was left behind. That aspect was left behind. There's this. I'm not sure how to put it, but it seems like the buildings have memories. So my first day on the job, I was hired on as to be a kitchen manager, at the bar and grill. And the owner's telling me, okay, this is your kitchen, you say what goes in here. No one's allowed in here but you. There's a door there's entry into the kitchen. There's the key to unlock the door. And at the other end of the kitchen, there was a stairway going down to a bar, a downstairs bar. That also had a locked door that I had a key to. No one else was allowed in this kitchen. He told me, you see anyone in this kitchen, you come and tell me right away. You get their name and you tell me. No one else is allowed in here. I'm like, okay. So I started working in the kitchen and, cooking. And next thing I hear is voices around the corner. It's like two people talking, plain clear as day. So I stop what I'm doing. I walk around the corner and there's no one there. Voices stopped. Go back to my job and start working again. Next thing I hear is sounds like someone running full speed up the stairway. Up the stairway. It's like, full speed. I was like, oh, that's weird. And I go over the stairway and there's no one there. So this stuff kept happening all throughout the week, And by the end of the week, when one of the bus trays that, hold glasses and plates was up on the shelf, just flew off the shelf and flew halfway across the halfway across the kitchen. I finally had to ask the bartender at the end of my shift, is there anything you want to tell me about this place? He's like, oh yeah, this place is haunted. Oh, really? So I got the story of that. Gornitai Ki Jai. But we would have ghost hunters that would come through and with their recording devices and asking questions. And it was interesting because a lot of this activity will spur up when you started talking about it. Things would start happening. And, that's, as I was saying, this stuff is really not meant to be messed with. You really shouldn't indulge in that, because by associating through the power of association, you can slip into the mode of ignorance. And it just so happens this building became a bar and grill. So people were already drinking in this situation to begin with. In Colorado, they were drinking. Not only drinking, they would go outside and smoke weed. So yeah, you had a lot of interesting things that happened. But yeah, the mode of ignorance is not a good place to be in. The mode of passion, those who worship the demons. Yeah, you find that in a lot of these secret societies that is worshiping, these physical beings for material gain. Let's move on to texts 5 and 6. Did I read the purport yet? Yeah, I did. Okay. Text 5 and 6. Those who undergo severe austerities and penance not recommended in Scripture, performing them out of pride, egotism, lust, and attachment, who are impelled by passion and who torture their bodies, organs, as well as a supersoul dwelling within, are to be known as demons. Purport. There are persons who manufacture modes of austerity and penances which are not mentioned in the scriptural injunctions. For instance, fasting for some ulterior purpose, such as to promote purely political end, is not mentioned in scriptural directions. The scriptures recommended fasting for spiritual advancement, not for some political and or social purpose. Persons who take to such austerities are, according to Bhagavad Gita, certainly demoniac. Their acts are against the scriptural injunctions and are not beneficial for the people in general. Actually, they are out of pride, false ego, lust, and attachment for material enjoyment. By such activities, not only are the combination material elements of which the body is constructed distributed, but also the Supreme Personality of Godhead Himself living within the body. Such unauthorized fasting or austerities for some political end are certainly very disturbing to others. They are not mentioned in the Vedic literature. A demoniac person may think that it can force his enemy or other parties to comply with his desire by this method. But sometimes one dies by such fasting. These acts are not approved by the Supreme Personality Godhead, and he says that those who engage in them are demons. Such demonstrations are insults to the Supreme Personality Godhead because they are enacted in disobedience to the Vedic scriptural injunctions. The word achetasya is significant in this connection. Persons of normal mental condition must obey the scriptural injunctions. Those who are not in such a position neglect and disobey the scriptures and manufacture their own way of austerities and penances. One should always remember the ultimate end of the demoniac people, as described in the previous chapter. The Lord forces them to take birth in the womb of demoniac persons. Consequently, they will live by demoniac principles life after life without knowing their relationship with the Supreme Personality Godhead. If, however, such persons are fortunate enough to be guided by a spiritual master, one can direct them to the path of Vedic wisdom. They can get out of this entanglement and ultimately achieve the supreme goal. Some examples of this, you probably have heard of prisoners, people in prison that go on a strike. They won't eat. Gandhi, took his people and had his people, fast from food, in a political revolt. You find these things that go on. But austerity, when done properly, is basically it's leveling the playing field when done properly. It's good for purifying. How shall I put this? Because we're trying to purify our good karma and our bad karma. We're trying to wipe the slate clean. So when we're doing this for Krishna, when we're abstaining from, when we're doing proper fasting, proper austerities, we're actually taking on a bit of suffering. The suffering is wiping the slate clean of these karmic reactions that we're supposed to be getting. So many ways, if a person has a lot of bad karma, a lot of bad karmic reactions from past lives, austerities and fasting is a good way to help bring karma back into alignment, along with bhakti yoga. Bhakti yoga is the fastest way. Any questions or comments on that? Yes, Prabhu.
So, just on this point, the way I understood the purport is that it's recommending that we only do that which is connected with bhakti. And I wanted to mention a story that was quite interesting to me. So there was a certain point in my life, and I was trying to get into the Bhagavad Gita and spiritual life and things like that. But there was also some other motivations. So I was interested in health and wanted to, I heard about some sort of a fasting. And the fasting is not too torturous, but a little bit abnormal. And when I was in my college town, I had many friends who were Indians. Not many, but a few. And it was nice, actually, because Krishna would always come. And I had these two friends, Sai Krishna and Sai Ram. And they were twins. And they were some of my good, we kicked it off a little bit. We were pals. And then they had another friend, and his name was Venkatesh. And his mom came to visit him at the college town. And so his mom came, and he invited me over so I could meet his mom. And he told her, he said, yeah, Miguel is doing some fasting, but he's not doing it for any god. He's just doing it for health. And he talked about it like it was cool, But when he said it like that, it was interesting to me. I was thinking, oh, I can fast for a god? And he asked his mom to cook me something to break the fast. It's like a special light meal so that you can get the body back up to speed. And but that really struck me that I can actually make it fasting as an offering, and that's the principle that Prabhupada in the scripture recommends, that we abstain, we do fasting for Krishna's pleasure on specific days as he has recommended, and it's described in the Nectar of Devotion in different places that one can automatically control the belly, I think it is, that's mentioned, by observing the fasting days. And it's nice to know that it's all included. And if we add extra austerities, that's also not recommended, which is a Prabhupada actually discusses that too, that if we don't stick to any additional regulative principles, that can also be a distraction. So those are some of my thoughts.
I notice this system sometimes it'll be on, then the microphone cut it off.
With the machine.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Okay. Text 7. Even food of which all partake of his three kinds, according to the three modes of material nature. The same is true of sacrifices, austerities, and charity. Listen, I shall tell you of the distinction of these. Purport. In terms of different situations and the modes of material nature, there are differences in the manner of eating, performing sacrifices, austerities, and charities. They are not all conducted on the same level. Those who can understand analytically what kind of performances are in what modes of material nature are actually wise. Those who consider all kinds of sacrifice of foods or charity to be in the same cannot discriminate, and they are foolish. They are missionary workers who advocate that one can do whatever he likes and attain perfection. But these foolish guides are not acting according to the direction of the scripture. They are manufacturing ways and misleading people in general. Text 8 through 10. Translation. Foods in the mode of goodness increase the duration of life, purity, to purify one's existence and give strength, health, happiness, and satisfaction. Such nourishing foods are sweet, juicy, fattening, and palatable. Foods that are too bitter, too sour, too salty, pungent, dry, and hot are liked by people in the modes of passion. Such foods cause pain, distress, and disease. Food cooked more than 3 hours before being eaten, which is tasteless, stale, putrid, decomposed, and unclean, is food liked by the people in the mode of ignorance. Report. The purpose of food is to increase the duration of life, purify the mind, and aid the bodily strength. This is its only purpose. In the past, great authorities selected those foods that best aid health and increase life's duration, such as milk products, sugar, rice, wheat, fruits, and vegetables. These foods are very dear to those in the mode of goodness. Some other foods, such as baked corn and molasses, while not very palatable in themselves, can be made pleasant when mixed with milk or other foods. Then in the mode of goodness, all these foods are pure by nature. They are quite distinct from untouchable things like meat and liquor. Fatty foods, as mentioned in the 8th verse, have no connection with animal fat obtained by slaughter. Animal fat is available in the form of milk, which is the most wonderful of all foods. Milk, butter, cheese, and similar products give animal fat in a form which rules out any need for the killing of innocent creatures. It is only through brute mentality that this killing goes on. The civilized method of obtaining needed fat is by milk. Slaughter is the way of subhumans. Protein is ample available through split peas, dal, whole wheat, etc. Foods in the mode of passion, which are bitter, too salty, or too hot, or overly mixed with red pepper cause misery by producing mucus in the stomach, leading to disease. Food in the mode of ignorance or darkness are essentially those that are not fresh. Any food cooked more than 3 hours before it is eaten, except prasadam, food offered to the Lord, is considered to be mode of darkness because they are decomposing. Such foods give a bad odor, which often attracts people in the mode of in this mode, but repulses those in the mode of goodness. Remnants of food may be eaten only when they are a part of a meal that was first offered to the Supreme Lord or first eaten by saintly persons, especially the spiritual master. Otherwise, the remnants of food are considered to be the mode of darkness, and they increase infection or disease. Such foodstuffs, although very palatable to persons in the mode of darkness, are neither liked nor even touched by those in the mode of goodness. The best food in the remnant of what is offered in the supreme goodness, offered to the supreme personality of Godhead. In Bhagavad Gita, the Supreme Lord says that he accepts preparations of vegetables, flour, and milk when offered with devotion. Patram pushpam palam toyam. Of course, devotion and love are the chief things which the Supreme Personality of Godhead accepts. But it is also mentioned that the prasadam should be prepared in a particular way. Any food prepared by the injunction of scriptural offer to the Supreme Personality of Godhead can be taken even if prepared long, long ago, because such food is transcendental. Therefore, to make food antiseptic, edible, and palatable for all persons, one should offer food to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So this is very interesting because foods that are cooked more than, that's been cooked and not eaten, after 3 hours. Whoa, go to the grocery store. Think about how many foods that are in the grocery store alone that are in the mode of ignorance. Pretty much 90% of the store. And this is what our modern day diet is for people who aren't in Christian consciousness, who aren't eating fresh. They're eating foods that was made a year ago. A year ago. Being preserved by chemicals. That's supposed to keep the food, palatable and edible. Think about that. All this food. 90% of the food that we eat here in America is in the mode of ignorance. I mean, it far surpasses the mode of passion, far surpasses the mode of goodness. Because if you take out all the food in the grocery store that's in the mode of ignorance, you'd have a very much smaller grocery store. Just walk down the aisles of a grocery store one day and just look how many aisles of these processed foods that were processed 6 months, a year ago, 2 years ago. Sometimes you find stuff on the shelves from 5 years ago. That's all this stuff that's in the mode of ignorance. And this is what people are eating in their daily lives. And we wonder why that we have one of the highest costs for health care. So everyone's getting sick. It all starts with what we eat. So if you want to maintain a healthy lifestyle, you got to eat fresh. You got to eat things that have been offered to Krishna first, and that's a guarantee. Because if you're doing everything that's been offered to Krishna, then everything is fresh. It's not something that's been sitting on the shelf, for 6 months or a year. That's the beauty of it. It's fresh. In these restaurants these days, why nobody who's practicing Hare Krishna, practicing Vaishnava, should eat at any restaurant unless it's a Govinda's, that's being run by Hare Krishnas. Because modern day restaurants, none of them are doing anything fresh anymore. It's all pre-processed food now. They don't need expert cooks anymore in restaurants. They just need cooks to be able to follow directions on the back of a package. Open, put in oven, put in fryer, wait 15 minutes. Boom. It's done. And I spent a good portion of my life cooking in restaurants, and there was only a small handful of the restaurants I worked at that actually did things fresh. I could count them on one hand in 20 years that did things actually fresh. The rest were just pre-processed food that they were selling. That you could get, that you could go down the, store and get, these TV dinners. It was on the same level. People are paying good money to be cheated into food that's old, food that's over a year old, paying good money. Look how many people go to Taco Bell and, McDonald's, pay good money for old food. Food that's very palatable, it's not even digestible, full of chemicals, so it could be, maintain, so-called freshness. It's all in the mode of ignorance. That's why, Krishna consciousness is so much needed in this age of Kali, because when 90% of the food that's being served is in the mode of ignorance, you got a lot of people that's going to be falling into ghostly bodies by associating with so much ignorance in the future life. That's a scary thing. There'd be a lot of wandering souls out there wanting to satisfy their senses but are unable to. Actually, looks like that we are over on time. Any last minute questions or comments before I wrap it up? Didn't even realize the time. It's already gone over. Baba Gita Ki Jai. Yeah, 90% of our food at the grocery stores. Actually, the food companies are like, Joe, there's recent legislation that the food companies are trying to fight, because now they're actually having to put on labels